Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Framed by James. I'm your host, James. I'm an ABO certified optician and I work for Hidden Valley Eye Care and Wasatch Sports Vision in Draper, Utah. Today I'm going to teach you why you should not start with face shape or frame shape when you are picking new glasses for yourself. In episode 1 of this channel, I gave 2 reasons why you shouldn't focus on face shape when picking glasses. Reason number 1 is that it's really hard to accurately and reliably classify face shape. Second reason I gave was that even the large frame manufacturers in their trainings say that it really doesn't matter that much. You can't really go wrong. That you can either pick frames that are in alignment with a person's face shape or that's in contrast to a person's face shape. So it just doesn't matter that much according to large frame manufacturers. So my motto on this show is fit over shape. And what I mean by that is that you should focus more on the fit of the frame or the measurements and how it fits your face rather than the shape of the frame or the shape of your face. We just talked about a couple reasons why face shape shouldn't be the starting point, but also we shouldn't worry about frame shape either. One reason is that frame shapes are faddish, right? So what's popular right now might not be popular next season or next year. So you're always going to be chasing a different frame shape if you're just focusing on the frame shape. Now I've seen other videos, YouTube videos online or online tutorials about how to pick the right frame based on your frame shape. And one problem with that is that most of those, or a lot of them at least, are done by fashion stylists or people that aren't opticians. So they're focused just on the frame. The problem is they're disregarding half of the spectacles, maybe the most important part, the lenses, right? Like the whole reason why you have a frame anyway is to hold the lenses up to your eyes so that you can see clearly. We can't just disregard that. And that plays a massive role in choosing the right frame for yourself. As an optician, my entire goal isn't only to help you look good in your glasses, but to see great out of your glasses. Don't sacrifice your vision for your look. Don't sacrifice good quality vision for fashion. Sometimes I'll have clients come in that want a certain style of glasses because they saw it on so-and-so celebrity in the movies or on TV, or some model wearing it in a magazine, or even they have a friend who wears a similar frame and they want to have glasses just like their friend. Picking a frame shape because you saw so-and-so celebrity in the movies or on TV or some model in a magazine wearing it can be a bad idea. First, the models in these magazines are always, as Ed Sheeran puts it, beautiful people! Literally, in most cases, no matter what frame they wore, it's gonna look good. Not because the frame shape is good for their face shape, but just because they're beautiful people. As a model, that's their job, to sell a product. It's marketing. Advertisers want you to look at an ad and think, wow, look at that beautiful person wearing that frame. I want to buy those frames so that I can look beautiful too. First of all, you already are beautiful and you don't need frames to help you with that. Second, just because someone else looks good in a frame shape in the magazine doesn't mean that frame would look good on you or be a good choice for you. And that's because of the lenses and the fit. That's kind of like me wanting to wear the exact same Armani or Tom Ford suit that Chris Hemsworth wears. It might look fantastic on him, but him and I are built a little differently. What looks good on him just isn't going to look good on me. See, virtually all frames that you see in magazines and on TV and in the movies don't have prescription lenses in them. Want to know how I can tell? It's because non-prescription lenses don't refract or bend light. So if you're looking at the glasses, the image inside of the lens on a prescription lens is going to look different than the image outside of the lens. So if it looks the same, there's not a prescription in there. Hate to break it to you, but Harry Potter doesn't have prescription lenses, at least in the movies. Take a look at these pictures and I'll show you what I mean. So here are Harry's glasses that he wears in the movies. Notice as you look at him through the lenses, you can see the side of his face, the curvature of his face. And as you look outside of the lenses, it follows the same path. So if you take a look at this photo, the part that I've circled and the line that I drew through it, that line follows the path of Harry's face. And you can see the portion of his face while you're looking through the lens follows the same path as it does once you get outside of the lens. So that shows us there's not a prescription in that lens, because otherwise the image inside the lens would look different than that outside of the lens. For comparison, here's my brother in his glasses. He's got a pretty high prescription. Our family's not been blessed with great eyesight, but you'll notice how much that image looking through the lens is different than looking outside of the lens. And I show you right here, circle the area that you're looking at, and notice the curvature of his face inside the lens, and that big jump once you get outside the lens. That image is not refracted like it is within the lens. So that's what a prescription lens looks like when you're looking at it. So you can tell that Harry Potter's glasses don't have a prescription in them in the movies. Also, Harry Potter is absolutely a wizard if he can keep his lenses that clean while the rest of his body looks that dirty. That's amazing. Back to the point. The prescription in lenses can make a massive difference when it comes to glasses. When picking a frame, do not start with the shape, start with your unique prescription. When I pick frames for a client, I follow 3 steps. Number 1, I look at the prescription and the usage of the lens. If there's a high prescription or we are getting a multifocal lens, then that's going to affect what kind of frame I pick for that client. And I'm going to get more into that later. Number 2, I look at the fit of the frame. The actual measurements of the frame compared with the actual measurements of the face. This is an objective thing, not subjective. Objectively looking at the measurements of the person and how the frame needs to fit. Number 3, finally, I'll get to the style, okay? We'll look at the shape of the frame versus the shape of the person's face, as well as color, material, like plastic versus metal, things like that. But that comes last. That is not where I start. Let me show you why I start with the prescription instead of the face shape when it comes to picking frames. I'm going to use today's celebrity as the example. Today's celebrity wasn't known by many people, but he was a great man and a hero to me personally. That's my dad, Greg Hope. Unfortunately, my dad passed away last year after a sudden but brief battle with acute myeloid leukemia. My dad was awesome at a lot of things, but his eyes were just not so great. He had a really high prescription. Here's what his frame looked like that he had before. And check out these lenses. Super thick, right? Really thick and heavy in this frame. This is the perfect example of why starting with the prescription is a much better idea than starting with face shape or frame shape. Now, I'm not trying to throw the optician that helped my dad pick these glasses under the bus. I mean, for all I know, maybe my dad really loved this frame and was gonna get it either way. But bottom line is, it's clear that whoever picked these frames didn't consider the prescription or the fit before making the decision to go ahead with these glasses. If you have a high prescription, which I'm going to classify as being above plus or minus 4 diopters of power, here are some tricks to help you keep the lens weight and thickness down. For starters, you will definitely want to consider a thinner and lighter lens material. A high index plastic lens bends light more than a basic plastic or a polycarbonate lens does. What that means is that you need less lens to get the same amount of prescription correction power than you do in a basic plastic lens. When it comes to the frame, consider going with a smaller eye size, a rounder shape, and a slightly thicker frame, like a plastic frame over a metal frame. You want a smaller eye size in the frame because the further you get away from the optical center or where you look out of the lens, the thicker that lens gets, at least in a minus prescription. A rounder shape also helps keep the thickness of the lenses down and helps by hiding any sharp angles that accentuate the thickness of the lens. A thicker frame like a plastic frame masks some of the thickness of the lens because it's hidden behind the thickness of the frame. For example, look at my dad's glasses. Here's what we had as far as lens shape is concerned in a rectangular shape, and here's what I put him in. check out the lenses there. See how much thinner those are? So you can see that when these frames were picked for my dad, they just didn't consider the prescription very well. But they also didn't really consider the fit of the frame either. My dad, like myself, had a pretty small head or a small face. Particularly the distance between his eyes was a little more narrow, like my own. And that was one problem with going with this frame, is that this frame has eye size of 57. We're talking about the width of the frame here is 57 millimeters. So that's 57 on both sides here, and it has an 18 bridge. So this is a wide frame by most standards. Now, ideally, we want the eyes to be sitting close to the center horizontally in the lens. So if we have a larger eye size, we're getting the eye further away from the center of the lens. So in my dad's case, his eye would sit about right here, but look at all this space out here in the lens that is extra, not needed really for what the fit of his face was. So what I did is I put him in a smaller frame, a smaller eye size. It is rounder, not just because of the prescription, but also because of the fit of his face. This lens is a 51 eye size on each side there. So that's going to be 6 millimeters less in width than his old glasses were. That means that his eyes were a little more centered in this lens, and that makes the thickness more uniform around the edge of the lens. It just looks better. The result of putting my dad in this new frame was that the lenses weren't as thick and it fit better, so it was more comfortable for him to wear. If you have a high prescription, you could choose a big frame, but don't. Unless you like having red marks on your nose and your ears and it being painful, and unless you like pushing your glasses up because they're always falling down because the lenses are so heavy. I'm just saying, do yourself a favor and pick a frame that fits your unique personality, your unique face, and your unique prescription. You're gonna thank me later. If this video was helpful for you, then subscribe below and check out my other videos on how to pick good frames for yourself. And as always, see the good.